Let me tell you how human minds are programmed. Every person sitting across a table from you is chained by an invisible web of loss aversion. It is an evolutionary glitch. Human beings value avoiding a loss twice as much as they value gaining an equivalent reward. Their entire psychology, their posture, their heart rate, their strategic processing is calibrated to protect what they already hold. Let us strip away the polite fabrications of civilized society for a moment and examine how human beings are actually built. If you take a surgeon's scalpel to the psychological architecture of every powerful, comfortable man you will ever meet, you will find that his brain is governed by a singular, hardwired evolutionary glitch. In cognitive science, they call it loss aversion. It is the psychological reality that the pain of losing something is biologically calculated as twice as intense as the joy of gaining that very same thing. Human beings are not wired to conquer. They are wired to protect. They are wired to cling to their scraps. Every titan, every executive, every political operative, and every self-proclaimed master of the universe who steps into a room across from you carries an invisible, suffocating weight. They enter the room wrapped in their precious vulnerabilities. They are carrying their net worth, their corporate titles, their pristine reputations, their clean criminal records, their luxurious real estate portfolios, and their pathetic, desperate need for public approval. They operate under the delusion that these assets make them powerful. They believe that their achievements form an impenetrable fortress around them. In dark psychology, we view those men very differently. To a master manipulator, a comfortable man with a rich portfolio is not a fortress. He is a target-rich environment. When a man has something to protect, he is entirely predictable. You can run a complete psychological diagnostic on his entire strategic algorithm within 30 seconds of meeting him, threaten his net worth, and his pulse spikes, threaten his reputation, and his posture shifts into defensive compliance. Threaten his comfortable future, and he will surrender his present inch by painful inch. He is a marionette, and every single luxury, title, and dollar he possesses is just another string tied directly to his limbs, waiting for someone cold enough to pull them. Now, I want you to imagine a man who steps into that very same room, but he has no strings attached to him. He walks in with his hands empty, his ledger cleared, and his house burned to the bedrock. He has no assets left to safeguard, no reputation to preserve, no status to defend, no future to bargain with. He has reached what dark strategists refer to as psychological zero point. Most fools look at a man who has lost everything and mistake him for a victim. They assume that because his hands are empty, he is broken, fragile, and ripe for exploitation. They fail to realize that when you strip away a man's fear of loss, you aren't destroying him, you are deprogramming him. You are unleashing the most lethal, untethered entity that can possibly occupy a room. There is a precise, visceral psychological shift that occurs within the room the exact moment your opponent realizes you are operating from zero point. It is not an intellectual realization. It is a primal, animalistic panic that originates in their gut and climbs directly up their nervous system into their brainstem. Why? Because traditional negotiation is an elaborate dance of calculated friction. It is built entirely on the assumption that both parties share a fundamental desire for self-preservation. If I press you here, you will step back there to avoid the pain. It relies on mutual greed, mutual fear, and a shared agreement that tomorrow matters. When you operate from zero point, you dismantle the entire game before it even begins. You are no longer playing to secure a favorable outcome. You are no longer attempting to minimize your damages or optimize your profit margins. You are operating from a state of total, cold, uncompromising tactical detachment. When an adversary attempts to apply traditional leverage against a man at zero point, the liver snaps in half because there is no surface left for it to catch on. Consider the mechanics of their threats. They lean across the table and say, "We will ruin your career." You sit in silence, looking at them with mild curiosity, because you have already accepted that your career was buried weeks ago. They sneer and whisper, "We will drag your name through the mud." You don't even flinch because you know that a ruined name is just a noise made by people who don't matter. They slam a file down and say, "We will make this agonizingly, impossibly expensive for you." You look them in the eyes and let them see the dead, quiet truth. You are fully prepared to spend your last breath making sure they spend millions just to watch you fail. Do not mistake this for rage. Rage is loud. Rage is emotional. Rage causes your hands to shake and your blood pressure to spike. Rage gives away your operational coordinates. Rage is a sign that you still care deeply about the outcome. What I am describing is not rage. It is cold, mathematical, asymmetric warfare. You sit there entirely motionless, unmoved, unbothered. You lower your voice until the room becomes so deathly quiet that they have to hold their breath just to hear you speak. And in that terrifying silence, they come to a horrifying realization. They are locked in a room with a strategist who views total, absolute destruction not as a catastrophe to be avoided, but as an entirely acceptable cost of doing business. Do you know why sane, comfortable men lose every single time they go to war with a man who has nothing left to lose? Because comfortable men are tethered to logic, preservation, and order. They operate within rigid risk matrices. They have boards of directors, families, stock options, country club memberships, and dinner reservations at 8 o'clock. They have an absolute ceiling on how much discomfort, chaos, and financial hemorrhaging they are willing to absorb before they cut their losses, sign the concession, and run back to safety. A man at psychological 0 point has no ceiling. In psychological operations, when you shed your attachment to the outcome, you transform into an unbounded variable. When a seasoned negotiator or a corporate predator encounters an unbounded variable, their mental processing power freezes. Their predictive models collapse. They can no longer calculate your next move because your incentives no longer make any sense to their soft, risk-averse brains. They expect you to bargain like a rational man. Instead, you hand them an ultimatum. They expect you to seek a compromise. Instead, you widen the blast radius. They begin to realize that every additional minute they spend in that room trying to force you into submission, their own assets are decaying. Their stock is dipping, their stress is mounting, their neat, orderly little world is cracking at the seams. You do not need to raise your voice. You do not need to slam your fists on the table or make theatrical displays of anger. That is for amateurs playing at power. You simply articulate the cold, mathematical reality of their position. You are sitting in that chair fighting with everything you have to keep your empire, your comfort, and your reputation intact. I am sitting in this chair simply to ensure that if I do not get precisely what I came here to collect, neither of us leaves this room with a life worth living. The second that realization hits their central nervous system, their higher brain functions shut down. Their survival instinct overrides their ambition, their pride, and their greed. They will hand you the keys to the kingdom, sign away their leverage, and rewrite the deal on your terms, not because they respect you, but because they desperately need to get out of the same room as you and re-establish a sense of predictability. Most people enter a room playing a game of accumulation. They negotiate from a place of preservation. They carry their mortgages, their reputations, their precious little titles, and their fear of embarrassment into the room like a tray of fine crystal, terrified of dropping a single glass. When you negotiate with someone who has everything to lose, you aren't fighting a monster. You're fighting an accountant. They are calculating risk. They are measuring margins. They are terrified of the downside. But when you strip a human being of their options, when you burn the ships, the docks, and the very land they stood on, you don't weaken them, you unleash them. Now, listen to me very carefully, because what I am about to tell you is where your ultimate protection lies. This world is crawling with predators. They are in boardrooms, courtroom hallways, corporate suites, and personal relationships. They track human weakness like hounds tracking blood across dry dirt. They scan you constantly, looking for the things you are desperately holding on to. Your title, your image, your emotional attachments, your need to be liked, and they hook their claws into those precise points to drag you wherever they need you to go. They want you attached. They need you invested in their system. They require you to be terrified of falling. The darkest, most potent secret of high-level psychological warfare is learning how to weaponize total, absolute detachment before life violently strips your world away from you. You do not need to wait for a catastrophe to strike your life to operate with the absolute lethality of a man who has nothing left to lose. You simply need to perform the mental execution yourself. Before you step into any room where power is being negotiated, mentally liquidate everything you own. Accept the absolute, bottom-level, worst-case scenario as if it has already occurred, been finalized and written into the history books. Make your peace with the ashes before you walk through the door. Once you have mentally survived the absolute worst that your opponent can inflict upon you, you become completely immune to their psychological games. Their threats become nothing more than empty, tedious background noise. Their posturing becomes embarrassing. Their carefully cultivated leverage turns into useless dust. You walk into the room wearing an invisible suit of armor forged from absolute zero, and every weapon they attempt to draw against you will simply shatter on impact. So, the next time they back you into a corner, when they stack the legal deck against you, when they bring out their high-priced consultants, when they threaten your livelihood, and when they attempt to grind you into silent, desperate compliance, do not panic. Do not offer concessions out of fear. Do not look for an exit door. Look across the table directly into their eyes with the serene, terrifying composure of a man who has already walked through the fire and realized the flames cannot touch him anymore. Let the temperature in the room drop to absolute zero. Let them calculate the horrifying cost of trying to break a man who no longer calculates risk. Make them understand that taking everything from you did not leave you broken, weak, or desperate. It simply stripped away the very last reason you had to show them any mercy. And then, sit back in complete silence and let them decide exactly how much of their own precious, comfortable world they are willing to burn to ashes today just to survive the mistake of crossing you.